All right, welcome to round number 4. We are on the draw here, and this is a slow hand that I think I'm willing to keep. Hopefully Path is good, and we have Voice of Resurgence at least as a 2-drop. And then a couple solid 3s, especially if we draw a fetch land. All right, so Tron. Well, we did draw fetch land, so that's nice. Tron is not a matchup where I want to be slow and relying on paths. Hopefully Eldrazi Tron. The traditional Tron would be not good. Once again, Moto has decided to move my windows aside and make me look bad. Thanks a lot, Moto. But we'll fix that window so it looks a little better there. All right. So yeah, hopefully Eldrazi Tron, so I get some use out of these paths. If they are on a like green X Tron, then we're going to be in a little bit of a tougher situation, as they say. All right, sweet. Eldrazi Temple, exactly what we hoped for. Matter Reshaper, that's something I can path if I want. I think I don't want. I think I just let that hang out for now, even potentially trade a voice for it. Ramping my opponent seems like not exactly what I want to be doing at this stage of the game, so we're just getting this tapped, grabbing a forest. Ghost Quarter's not bad. I'm going to want those in this matchup, but can't be firing that off quite yet, I think. I suppose Path Ghost Quarter is a line that is not the end of the world, especially if I'm pathing on my opponent's upkeep. So we're like Ghost Quartering their Eldrazi Temple, pathing this. They only have like 2 mana, maybe 3 mana to work with next turn. I am going to offer this trade. Voice isn't going to do too well in combat with my opponent's deck. They hit an Eldrazi Temple. Yeah, that's worst case scenario, unfortunately. Now my opponent just has 1,000,000 mana this turn. But that's potentially why you don't trade. Reality Smasher main 2, at least, is not the end of the world. We do have a way to deal with that. That probably also means I'm interested in Ghost Quartering this turn. Although both my 3-drops prefer that I play them on turns before I play my land drop. And if I Ghost Quarter this turn, I can't do that. But looks like we're on Ghost Quarter Path, discard Path, honestly. This has to be 7 or greater, right? Okay, so blow up a temple. They still have 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly 6. I won't have another Ghost Quarter for 2 turns. I'll have it in 2 turns. So it's possible I'm supposed to just hit this Sanctum. I think the Eldrazi Temple doesn't do a lot. And the Sanctum would be very bad. I mean, I guess if they're casting a 7 or greater, I'm losing the game to that nearly alone with where we're at in this game. So I wonder if I'm not even supposed to Ghost Quarter my opponent then. Are we really doing anything? I'm keeping them off of 2, 4, 5, 6, potentially 7 mana. But if they're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5 anyway, it's probably fine. Like the only Eldrazi spell above 5 is All Is Dust, and I don't care about that. So yeah, I guess I'm just on Courser this turn, take 5, and then worry about these paths later. If my opponent's on like multiple Smashers, though, things could get a little ugly for me as I go down to 9. But I think I'd rather take the mana efficient line here. Looks like I was wrong about the Ghost Quarter being in 2 turns. We were going to be able to Ghost Quarter next turn again if we desired, but now I have it a little better where I could even double Ghost Quarter and have these paths. Path first, of course, since I assume my opponent is somewhere around 2 to 3 wastes. Typically, I think 2. And if they're on 2, I'd rather path first before we start Ghost Quartering. Okay, so next turn, it's looking like we're going to be interested in double Ghost Quarter. I guess I won't have double path, so maybe not. Maybe single Ghost Quarter, double path is where we'll be. Yeah, that's probably right. So I'm going to just take this, Double blocking doesn't make any sense. It would just have me throw both of my guys away for 5 life, which is certainly not worth it to me. Hopefully there will be like a white, either a good card on top or a white source on top. If not, I can just play this Plains to double path. But I would like to discard this Plains to the Reality Smasher triggers, so hopefully a white source on top. Otherwise, I have to discard either Ramunap or Ghost Quarter. It would make no sense, I think, to discard the Ramunap over the Ghost Quarter, so we would just be discarding the Ghost Quarter, or the last path, I guess. Opponent has a Ghost Quarter of their own. Draw. Misty. It is a white source if I'm willing to hurt myself a whole bunch. I guess it's not a whole bunch since the first, it's just 2, right? Well, no, I mean, it still should count as 3, right? I could either go up to 10 or I can, yeah, I mean, I just have to play this. Bird on top. Well, we're going to be happy to fetch that one away. So yeah, now I get to path, discard Plains. If this is a Windswept Heath, that would be better, obviously. I'm just not blocking. So we're sending the team. Even if they have a 3rd Smasher, I mean, we're not interested. We'll just take it and go to a low life total. Hopefully not die to Ballista before we can gain some more life. So now that we're on upkeep, path, then Ghost Quarter is probably where we want to be. So let's get that going. Knight of the Reliquary is a better draw. Path this, discard Plains, and then discard the Ghost Quarter since we have this Ramunap. Plains. Okay, there's 1 waste. Path this, discard Ghost Quarter. Again, we have the Ramunap. Although, I guess I might be more interested in playing Knight next turn, so it's possible I'm supposed to get really greedy and discard my Ramunap so that I can Knight Ghost Quarter next turn. I just don't think that's relevant enough, so I'd rather just get all the value out of all of my cards. So yeah, this path resolves. Opponent gets another wastes. And then we Ghost Quarter and Eldrazi Temple, leaving them with 2, 3, 4, 5 still. So maybe I am supposed to hit a Sanctum here. I think not. I think we still assault these to the best of our ability. My opponent could use their Ghost Quarter to make me shuffle here. I would shuffle. I really need the land there, so I'm not just going to let them strip mine me. They do only have 2 wastes, fortunately for us. So we're at least hurting them a little bit. Hopefully no 3rd Smasher into Ballista in the next turn, but we'll see. Next turn our opponent has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for something like a Ballista. 7 for an Eldrazi spell, which again could be All is Dust, which now we actually are a lot more worried about getting All is Dusted. 7. So next turn, I guess I will have to, if my opponent just like passes here, there is a good chance I have to go Ramunap, Ghost Quarter you again. Which maybe means, again, that I was supposed to discard the Ramunap. It is all just very dependent on what my opponent's going to do, so I think it's very close, but that does mean that perhaps I should have discarded the Ramunap and planned on going Knight, Ghost Quarter next turn. Knight, play Ghost Quarter from my hand. But again, that is incredibly dependent on my opponent's behavior for the remainder of their turn here. Expedition map, Buried Ruin. Okay. Is that artifact or colorless? Artifact. Well then. Well then, that means I am definitely not going to be able to stop my opponent from casting All Is Dust next turn. Even if I hit this Eldrazi Temple, they get to go get another Eldrazi Temple and then have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 even. So I guess we're not interested in doing that. We could want to hit their Sanctum though. But if they have another Sanctum, they could just go grab it. So maybe I just want to bet on them not having All Is Dust and try to put lethal on the table. And also this is a sufficient blocker for a Reality Smasher as well, which is nice. So yeah, please don't All Is Dust us. Unfortunately, there's a bird on top instead of a land, so we don't get to get some courser value. We play this main phase 1, of course, to increase our elemental size. And we do have lethal next turn if nothing happens. That seems unlikely, but it's possible our opponent just has lands and no gas. No remaining gas, at least. They get an Urza land. So they have Urza Mine and 3 mysterious cards. Now just 3 mystery cards. Tapping mana, all of it. That's not good. Ballista for 4. Yeah, it's not what we wanted. Depending on what is on top of my library, I can still win the game this turn using the path. It just depends here on what my opponent does with their ballista when I path it. Hopefully it'll land on top. No, another bird. So I can't go, wait, can I go Ramunap? No, I can't go Ramunap bird path without using my knight, and I need to be attacking with my knight. And they have the Buried Ruin for this. So again, let me rethink this to make sure there's no way we have lethal here. Obviously I can grow my elemental. Yeah, if only we had like a Ghost Quarter on top, then we would just definitely kill our opponent here. Either way, it's looking like we're gonna path. I'm probably not going to get to attack with my knight this turn because I'm probably going to have to Buried Ruin the... I guess it depends on what they do with their ballista again. So let's lead on path here. If they just like four my head, then I just have to kill their Buried Ruin using my knight sacking forest. If they kill my courser, then I kill them. So I'm not... Oh no, because this will shrink. Yeah, that was the problem. I needed there to be a land. Yeah. So I can put them to 1. But then they can Buried Ruin their ballista back next turn. And I don't want to draw that bird, and I want to cast this Ramunap this turn. So my attack is so paltry if I don't attack with the knight this turn. But if I attack and put my opponent to 1, and then my opponent uses their Buried Ruin, leaving them with 1, 2, 3, 4. They can only ballista for 2, which would not be sufficient to stop the elemental from killing them. So I think it is just... Well, what if they play a Tron land? Because they did tutor up one with the map, which is kind of interesting. So if they play the other Tron land, then they have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Go down to 9 with their Buried Ruin, ballista for 4. So then they get to chump the knight and kill the elemental, but then they're still like dying the following turn. They also get to kill the bird in that thing I just described, but then they use their entire turn and still sort of get time walked. So yeah, I think put opponent to 1 here is the correct line. We're still kind of racing our opponent's ability to find All Is Dust at any given moment also, so I think this is best. rather than like use my Knight, cast Ramunap, and Ghost Quarter them, which would be the alternative. So instead, they just draw an All's Dust. That's a bummer. So we're going to draw that bird. Also a little bit of a bummer. Fortunately, we have this Ramunap. Rather than cast bird, it's pretty important for us to stop our opponent from getting to use a Buried Ruin next turn and get that Ballista, since we now have a lethal threat in our 2/3. Hopefully our opponent may be out of gas. Probably not, but nope. Just starting with gas. What is it? Thought-Knot Seer. Yeah, you eat our bird and have a blocker. So not great for us, but not the worst. No, not more spells. That actually is the worst. Yeah, that's not great. I'm surprised. Yeah, I guess that for 3 is not great either. This is probably better. I wonder if they're supposed to just hold this though. No, probably not. Okay, so I can start firing off Ghost Quarters. Well, Ghost Quarter if I want, or I can actually make a land drop this turn. Don't think making land drop this turn matters unless my opponent kills my Ramunap, which they're not going to be able to do. So do I kill an Eldrazi Temple or do I kill an Urzaland? I think we kill an Urzaland here. It's going to be a tough one. I think we're in a little bit of a rough spot now. Fortunately, my opponent will definitely not be able to put 2 counters on their Ballista, which is what we wanted to restrict there with that Ghost Quarter. Otherwise, they could like attack and kill a Ramunap also with their Ballista. More things. Yeah, 3rd Reality Smasher is going to be real good here, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to chump with Hierarch, but this attack leaves them dead to Path. So I will definitely, I mean, there's only 1 path left, but I could also draw Company, play land off of the Ramunap, and cast Company and maybe get something exciting, or at least a way to live. Either way, definitely chump with the Noble Hierarch here. They should probably fire off their Ballista and make me chump. Yeah, okay, that's unfortunate. So now Path doesn't kill them, obviously, and now I also can't draw Company. So yeah, that was just a disastrous turn for us. And we found a Horizon Canopy. I think we're on 0 outs. Kitchen Finks that I unfortunately cannot get into play, and even if I could, would not save me here. Right? Yeah, right. So we will move on to game number 2 here. That was a close game. I think we really stood a chance there. It was unfortunate that we couldn't quite get there. We're likely going to want the Stony Silence here. Sigarda's great against All's Dust. Whisperwood's okay against All's Dust. And good against their deck in general. It's really Ugin. Ugin does not like Whisperwood Elemental since he gets to make a bunch of colorless things. Same with All's Dust. So we like those. Kataki, not as exciting for us. Mind Sensor is perhaps worth it on the play. Excuse me for bumping that here. I think I like Pride Mage, but not Rex Sage. I already have the Stony Silence, so I don't want to go like way overboard with artifact destruction stuff. And Pride Mage is just a better card in general. So I think I like Pride Mage and not Rex Sage. And then again, we have the option of like jamming some Unified Wills, which I think I don't really like, but are likely necessary again because of how bad All's Dust is. And similarly Ugin, although that's less common, but still bad. So I think we want to jam some number of these. It should be pretty easy for us to have more creatures than our opponent. But not too many Unified Wills, I think. 2 to 3 here, not the full play set. This is another spot where I think Azusa might need to get the axe, although my opponent's removal is not really that efficient. And they don't really have a lot of it either, so I could probably leave the whole package. Voices are pretty unexciting here, Scavenging Oozes are also kind of unexciting. I would kind of like to jam a bunch, get a bunch of these 2-drops here since I'm leaving all my dorks. And again, my opponent's not going to be killing my dorks terribly often. They could have something like a Dismember, but they won't have a lot. Voice does get to block twice, but doesn't block particularly well. Ooze is interesting because while it is like a creature v creature matchup, my removal spell is Path. My opponent's not going to be removing things a whole lot, so they might not get to do much. I think Voice is worse, but similarly, Kitchen Finks is not very exciting here. Again, blocks twice, doesn't block particularly well, doesn't match up particularly well. I want kind of all my value package over that stuff, I think. And then again, I'm interested in bringing in some of this. So let's hypothetically say we cut this. What does our deck look like? Pretty light on company hits. Makes me a little nervous. That's 23. That's too light. Do need my paths here. I think that's the problem with the Unified Wills here. Well, I'm out of time here. Too much chatting. But I think this is not correct. We're gonna have to find something that's a little better. I'm not sure what that might be though. Again, I think that's a unfortunate consequence of the Unified Wills and bringing in both Stonies. Perhaps both Stonies isn't correct. I think it may be. It depends on how my opponent's sideboarding. Like if they've also got like hangerbacks and stuff like that, then the Stonies get even better. Which people often do. So then you're talking about like hangerback, ballista, expedition map, possible Stony side, or excuse me, possible what was I gonna try and say there? Now I've just totally lost my train of thought. Anyway, you get the idea. There's a lot of artifacts they can have. Possible Basilisk Collar, Batter Skull. Maybe those were the things I wanted to mention. Fortunately, we already get some value off of this Stony Silence and get to catch an expedition map here, which is one of the reasons that Silence is even better on the play. Although sometimes your Eldrazi Tron opponents will be interested in casting something else on turn 2, like if they have a Temple into Reality or Matter Reshaper. All right. Don't really want to cast my Trekker yet. Let's go ahead and get Noble Hierarch and our Pride Mage into play. And this is why we have Pride Mage here instead of Rexage. Pride Mage just a reasonable card here, whereas Rexage we'd like be kind of inclined to hold on to for a while and not be particularly excited about. The Sigarda will also be excellent if we can slam that. Unfortunately, we probably won't have a Sigarda. But we have 3 pretty good cards in our hands, so it's possible our opponent is interested in pursuing one of the other things with their Thought Knot. We will see. Our hand is definitely good this game. We even get to offer a trade Pride Mage for Thought Knot this upcoming turn, which is nice. Best case scenario, we draw a land, and then we get to play Trekker, land, and have Unified Will up. All right, perfect. I guess fetch land would have been perfect, but this is great. This is great. Still what we want. So we're going to attack for 4 here. And then play... we obviously have the super exciting combo, by the way, of Stony Silence, Tireless Trekker. I don't think it's worth boarding out our Tireless Trekker. But, you know, maybe. Our opponent unlikely will interact with this, so it will likely just remain and we'll have a bunch of clues we can't do anything with. But we only have 1 Tireless Trekker and 2 Stony Silence, so we're not particularly likely to draw them both. I think it's still worth having it in. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, we've got a pretty exciting combo here. At least we don't have the Engineered Explosives Stony Silence combo. Like if we play against Affinity, those cards are both great. I'm going to bring them both in. Hopefully they won't end up being awkward, but yeah, we're taking it here. No interested in, not interested in making a chump block, of course. I guess we could always late game Pride Mage our Stony Silence to to crack a bunch of clues. We'll see. We'll see about that one. Seems dubious, but depends on the situation. Yeah, map resolves. not super torn up about that one right now. And we'll go to our turn. Ghost Quarter. So I think we start here. That's a good one. We like that one. We'll get another clue we can't activate, and then attack for 5 with just our Tireless Tracker. If our opponent wants to kill that, that's totally fine. Won't Unified Will that, especially since we have the ability to company instead. This is one of the few spots where I'm heavily disincentivized from companying in my own main phase. Yes, I have Ramunap. Yes, I have Azusa. Yes, I have Courser, but yeah, that's totally good with me. Not only have I already played a land this turn, but I also want the ability to hold up the Unified Will throughout my opponent's turn. It's interesting that we're having this race. Reality Smasher. Yeah, I mean, I basically need to Unify Will that. That really changes our paradigm quite a bit. If my opponent does not play a land this turn, I will be very, very likely to Ghost Quarter and Eldrazi Temple here to restrict their ability to hit us next turn. And I've obviously been taking some risk about the Tron lands already. So let's start here. There's no reason to Ghost Quarter EOT, by the way. We can just make that decision later. So we're going to lead on this company. triple birds and a Corsair. Well, we'll take it. At least we didn't whiff. I mean, I went down. I went light on creatures, so we already talked about that. And then we'll play Ghost Quarter here. So we can either take a mildly conservative line or a incredibly conservative line and Ghost Quarter both Eldrazi Temple and the Urza land. I will probably do so since I don't really need these Ghost Quarters and I like the card that's on top of my library. I could potentially want them to gain life though if my opponent slams a Smasher on the table. I think we're going to end of draw step double Ghost Quarter our opponent. Again, one of these is a sure thing. This Ghost Quarter right here, that's a sure thing. The next one is questionable. I guess I could chump with birds to go to 1 if my opponent smashered us. So hopefully they don't have Smasher and draw a land that they need. Guess we'll just hit this. There's no information about whether my opponent has more of one or the other at this stage of the game. Turn off that draw step stop. And for anyone who's not familiar, we definitely want to do that in their draw step there in case we're giving them the potential to draw wastes, basically. Yeah, we're taking that. Relic Progenitus. Yeah, even more fodder for our Stony Silence here. I guess we're just going to draw our additional Stony Silence right now. Try to gain more life here. Yeah, especially since our opponent doesn't have an additional wastes. All right, so we don't get to gain more life this turn, which is kind of a bummer. But obviously we get to leave some stuff back, so not a huge deal. Shouldn't really die to anything here. Our opponent knows about this, so we'll just go ahead and jam it. And attack for 4 with the Pride Mage. If they're gonna like dismember, I'd rather this get dismembered. This is in theory a better blocker if that's required. So yeah, we'll jam for 4 here. Could have jammed for like 2 with the bird, but that's definitely not correct. I think we want to put our opponent on the 2-turn clock there. Yep. So opponent not dead next turn. Okay. Another non-land here. So now we definitely attack with the Courser. They're forced to chump block. Since it'll be 4, and our Courser will be a 4/6. So easy attack for us. Opponent blocks. We draw our Knight of the Reliquary. Get to potentially play it. And hopefully have a land under that. So maybe go to 6 even. Sweet. Play that first. Play a relatively large knight. And still have the ability to play this Mind Sensor if we so desired. Although, with 2 Stony Silence cutting off my opponent's maps, I don't really see that to be a thing. Alright, so never got to crack our clues, but that's okay. Again, the wombo combo of Tireless Trekker and Stony Silence still worth it there, as Stony Silence was doing quite a bit of work for us. Opponent missing land drops with 2 Expedition maps in play is pretty great for us, and also our Knight of the Reliquary being in play with a Relic of Progenitus on the other side is pretty good for us. So, and Tireless Trekker traded for a Dismember. Now, you could say, well, why don't we just have Kitchen Finks instead of Tireless Trekker? But again, we're not always going to draw Stony Silence, and Tireless Trekker are far and above better than Kitchen Finks here, so I definitely like it this way. Other than that, we could try to jam these Oozes back in for more company hits. Both these are great. I mean, I could actually shave a company here just because of how poor we've made those companies. Don't know what else I would want to shave that's not a creature. Right, so our things that aren't hits include these things, which all seem outstanding. I mean, the Unified Wills get worse on the draw a little, and when my opponent's already seen them. Maybe I'm just not supposed to have these and be leaning on these. But again, like, it feels like they're so much more impactful in the matchup than a couple of Scavenging Ooze. So I think I'm just taking the risk here that my companies are worse, and I'm just going to have to keep that in mind. But that's basically why we can't even go up more than 2 Unified Wills. 2 is pretty much the max for us here when we're this creature light already. Yeah, I mean, I'll keep another Stony Silence hand, especially with my opponent on 6, at least. On 5, apparently. So, yeah, we'll keep it. We are on the draw, though, again, so it is a little worse. Opponent can get maps under it, basically, is the bottom line. Bird, a great draw. I think I'm actually going to hold off on this Misty. I know that's kind of against what I've been saying with the Knight of the Reliquary, but our opponent's removal spell is Dismember anyway, so having Knight be particularly large early doesn't really help us. On top of that, I kind of want to postpone the decision to see what we're going to get here. This turn I will probably play it since I have nothing else to do with the mana. I'm gonna play Stony Silence here. My opponent's going to get to spend their mana cracking this Relic. But then this Misty will actually end up in my graveyard, which we like, considering this Knight of the Reliquary in our hand. Alright, hopefully our opponent doesn't produce Tron soon. That is definitely a way they could steal this game, but other than that, I feel like we're in a pretty great spot. Definitely need a white source here for this Sigarda. We'll have to rely on this. We'll have to rely on this Bird of Paradise for blue for now. Just kidding. That was a joke. We don't have to do that. I need to get this Knight into play. So I'm going to put down Unified Will for 1 turn. Hopefully we don't get Troned, which seems unlikely since our opponent's already played two mines here. So Brooding Pool tapped, Knight of the Reliquary, and then next turn we get to Sigarda if we wish, which seems likely. Smasher, perhaps? Yeah, that's a good one. Well, we're in a little bit of trouble here, honestly. I can trade my Knight next turn for a Reality Smasher. Okay. Yeah, I mean, frankly, I think we just slam a Sigarda. It's tough for my opponent to deal with. I could trade this and block this. If they have like another Smasher, that's really bad. I guess the advantage of playing like Knight, leave up Unified Will, or Noble Hierarch, leave up Unified Will, is that I can get like... Oh wait, I can't trade that. What am I saying? I'd have to... Well, I can if I Ghost Quarter myself, but that's... I guess that's what we would have to do. I was thinking like for some reason Fetch Land would work there, but it won't. Obviously Canopy wouldn't work even if I play the Noble Hierarch, so yeah, it just has to be Ghost Quarter myself. No, it does work because we're sacking land. So it's not trade. Okay, so Fetch Land works the way I want, Horizon Canopy works the way I want, but Ghost Quarter is way better because I'm also sacking land. Duh, okay. I like briefly started tricking myself there. So yeah, I guess we just leave up Knight, get Ghost Quarter ourselves, and probably just slam Sigarda. Have a blocker for this and Sigarda, and Knight blocks that. Hopefully no Dismember. That would be like a huge beating. So that's why I leave up Unified Will. It's like a way I actually lose. My opponent attacks. I get Dismembered. If they just slam for a Reality Smasher, I Unified Willed it probably. And next turn I can Sigarda and Unified Will. Not if I'm Ghost Quartering myself, right? So next turn I'll have... Play a land this turn, I have 5 mana. Play this next turn I'll have 6 mana. 7 mana, but I Ghost Quarter myself back down to 6. Up to 7 with the Knight again. So, yeah. As long as I'm not attacking with the Knight, next turn I can Sigarda and Unified Will. So, okay, I like that. Sorry for a little bit of the... going around in circles there for a minute, but... Just want to make sure we take the right line here. And I guess it's attack with bird. Yeah. Got him. Neither Reliquary is a cool card. It gives you a lot of options and apparently adds some potential for me to screw some things up. But yeah, I think it's definitely Ghost Quarter ourselves, make Knight a 6/6. And have a good blocker. Again, we could Sigarda plus that, but I don't want to get blown out by Dismember. Then I would take a bunch of damage and my Knight would die, both of which would be very bad. So we will leave up some Unified Will action. Opponent starts in combat. Hopefully they smash. They do. So we go for the old block. Activate. Doesn't really matter how we do this. Sack this. I guess if I didn't cast Hierarch, I also could have like... No, that doesn't make any sense. Okay. Alright, so Ghost Quarter still. Float here. Hit this. Just get another planes, I guess. Alright, Knight's a 6/6. Sweet. Didn't even have to counter a Dismember or anything. Yeah, I'm going to let that resolve. Oh wait, we have a Stony Silence, so we're 100% letting that resolve. But interestingly enough, if I didn't have a Stony Silence, I think we're still supposed to let that resolve with my opponent on light on stuff, and we're going to be able to counter stuff in the future, so... Less interesting since we have a Stony Silence. Okay, now... I guess I'm not really interested in attacking with my opponent on multiple mana reshapers anyway, so I think it's still Sigarda, leave up Knight for Unified Will. Plus, we already know our companies to be a little bit weaker at the moment with the way we've boarded. It's a little telltale now, but I'm supposed to tap my dorks for this, right? Yeah, I'm supposed to. I mean, this is a huge signal, but whatever. I don't care about sending the right signal here when... I mean, I do if I could have done it both, but now it's too late, right? So I'd rather tell my opponent what I have in hand and not get blown out by, like, my opponent being able to kill a dork and then cast something I really care about. Especially if they, like, top deck the Tron land. I guess they would only have one spell at that point, but... feel pretty good about our prospects in this particular game. So I have a Sigarda, so All Is Dust doesn't actually beat us. So I think we're supposed to Unified Will this. Just so my opponent doesn't build up too much of a board here. Like if I miss on my company, for example. I don't know what it is I'm scared of when I have Sigarda in play. I guess like a Ballista for 1 million if they draw the Tron land. That could be a thing we're scared of. But it's too late now that we've tapped our Knight. But perhaps that's the thing. Gavany Township here seems like the play. Alternatively, Horizon Canopy is acceptable. I think it's Township. Yeah, perhaps this is incorrect since I already have an efficient blocker for this. So next turn we're just attacking with our Reshaper into a Reshaper. Next turn we're attacking with our Sigarda and nothing else, leaving up Gavany and Collected Company. And just making sure we have maximum blockers. Like if we were to whiff on our company, we wouldn't be forced to just chump block a bunch. I also kind of don't want this to die, but I guess it's... maybe I'm supposed to attack with both. 7 in the air versus 7 on the ground, they chump, and 7 in the air. Like they're just going to ship with both of these and I'm going to have to chump it anyway, but this way I actually get to leave my Knight up. If they have a Reality Smasher or something, yeah, it's got to be this. In case I get smashered again. That feels like a way we lose. Between Gavany and company, if we have a reasonable company and our opponent ships in their guys, we may very well just kill them next turn anyway. I'm pretty sure I company before blocking. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Think we're just gonna keep our life total up there. I could chump. Actually, yeah, maybe I'm supposed to just double dark chump to give them less opportunity to actually do anything. That seems fine. Yeah. All right. Excellent. Well, that's it for round number 4, and I will see you in the final round in just a minute.